The Chicago Bears come away with a victory 24-18. Looked a little bit ugly, but hey, they don't have to look pretty. They just have to be in the shape of a W. Chicago Bears, their number one overall graded player was Montez Sweat in this one, 76.1 overall grade. Linebacker TJ Edwards with a 75.0. Safety Jaquan Brisker with a 71.4. Running back DeAndre Swift, a 70.8. Then wide receiver DJ Moore with a 67.5. Caleb Williams in this game, 63.0. On the other side of things, grades look better for the Rams. Defensive tackle Braden Fisk out here with a 90.6 overall grade, and defensive tackle Kobe Turner right below him with an 89.4. They sure whooped up on the Bears offensive line. Safety Quentin Lake with an 83.4. Offensive tackle Alaric Jackson with an 80.4. Offensive guard Kevin Dotson with a 76.9, and then Matthew Stafford with a 65.3. What was the stat that told the story here, Dalton?
So this is actually the third game in a row now that I'm going to say the team that lost probably should have won.
I don't want to sound sour to Bears fans because they got the win.
They got away with a win.
But it's hard to not feel that way watching this game and just trying to look for performances of, okay, this player or this thing or this is the reason why the Bears won this game. And you go,
and it's
Rams
like
played better.
And it's funny because so the Rams, it felt like the Rams were constantly in the red zone in this game and just not punching it in. They were 1 for 4 in the red zone.
Oh, good pull. I did not see that. 2
turnovers, including Stafford with a fumble at his own 15 or 20-yard line that directly led to a touchdown. Then the interception was on the last drive of the game when they could have gone down for a game-winning drive. They did miss a field goal. They did not convert the 2-point conversion that would have tied the game, actually. It would have tied the game at 17. The Bears, on their first 4 drives, had 41 total yards. And yet, after those 4 drives, they led 7-6. The Rams they didn't finish drives. They made mistakes. And even, Kobe Turner, I'm going to give you Kobe Turner as my most impressive. And this,
you talk about him.
Great player. We already know, second-year player.
Yeah.
Him and Fisk, I'll tell you what, you get those two going like that more often. Not that you wouldn't miss Aaron Donald, because he could walk out there and be the best player right now because he's Aaron Donald. But that's exactly what they were looking for when it comes to Turner and Fisk on the inside. But Kobe Turner in the run game was a monster. 86.3 run defense grade, all right? And here's it almost sums up the Rams' day, okay? They get the touchdown. They don't get the 2-point conversion. It's 17-15, right? They were playing well in the interior against the run when Kobe Turner played 50 of the Rams' 60 snaps in this game. But one of those 10 snaps, you know when it was? The DeAndre Swift touchdown that put the Bears up by 2 scores. The one snap, one of the very few snaps that Kobe Turner came off the field, they run right down the pipe at his replacement, and Swift scores, and then they're down 2 scores. Like, that just sums it up to me of, like, the Rams, not a whole lot of depth. They need their stars. The stars played well, but you have to survive a snap or two without them. And they just made, again, this is the third game I've had in a row here where it's like the Rams made the mistakes that losing teams make. And to the Bears' credit, they ran the ball better than they did in the first 3 weeks, and they kind of just didn't screw it up.
Yeah,
they let the Rams screw it. Because honestly, I'll be honest with you, if the Rams had Nakua and Kupp, or maybe just one of them, the Rams probably win this game. But they went out there and look, you just mentioned it with whoever it was, the Eagles. You have what you have, and you have to go out and play well. And the Rams, honestly, just didn't. They didn't finish drives. They made mistakes, and they kind of. To me, they kind of let the Bears have one.
No, I'm with you. My most disappointing was just the Rams' lack of firepower, because if they had a little bit more of it, again, I'm with you. I think that they win this game. The stat that told the story, though, I don't want to sound too negative on the Bears who did win this football game. I will point this out. There was a story sort of going into this game. I think it was Jay Glazer who reported it, that offensive players met with Shane Waldron earlier this week, and they were like, hey, let's liven it up a little bit here. Like, we got to start getting a little bit more aggressive on the offensive side of the ball. And apparently Caleb Williams was one of those players.
What's funny to me about that is the last 2 weeks they've actually gotten under center a lot more.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily like getting under center or like being in shotgun or things like that. They just want to like dial up a little bit more. Like, they don't want to be as conservative. And I will say, I know there's been a lot of like freaking out that's gone on. But he's freaking out. Each week they have gotten better. when it comes to EPA per pass. Week 1, negative 0.308 EPA per pass. Week 2, negative 0.274 EPA per pass. Okay, so a little bit better. Week 3, negative 0.038. Okay, almost even EPA per pass. And then yesterday against the Rams, a positive 0.17 EPA per pass. So every single week it has gotten a little bit better for this team. Now, has it really caught fire the way that we've kind of looked at this offensive unit and said, like, look at all the weapons that they have? No, not quite yet. We're still getting there. But it is at least going in the right direction. And I do think the fact that it was their best game yet in terms of EPA per pass, that allowed them to capitalize on the Rams not capitalizing. And I think sometimes that's all that matters. My most impressive, since you already talked about your most impressive in Kobe Turner, my most impressive, I'll give a nod to DeAndre Swift and how well he played. 93 rushing yards, the most from him since week 16 of last year. 4 missed tackles forced. That was the most for him this season. 7 catches on 7 targets for 72 receiving yards. That's his most receiving yards in a single game since week 7 of 2021. Remember when he was coming into the draft, that was the Cam Akers and J.K. Dobbins and Jonathan Taylor, and he was in that class as well. And a lot of people loved DeAndre Swift because of what he could be in the passing game. And we're talking about a guy who, 72 receiving yards, that's his single game high since 2021. He just has not been used quite in as explosively in that area as we probably thought that his career could have been up to this point. But it was great to see him get more involved in that area. Feels like it's going to be a little bit more of a committee in the backfield anyways. But Carmen made a really good point on the preview show. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing for DeAndre Swift. It simply could mean that Waldron and the offense are more open-minded to getting more touches and carries to other running backs and could just put them in more advantageous situations. So less volume overall, but more efficiency from each of these players. And I feel like that is what we got out of DeAndre Swift this past week. So that's both of our most impressive. I talked about most disappointing being the Rams' lack of firepower because I think they could have got a win here in this one if they had a little bit more of it. What about you? What is your most disappointing?
It was just tough to watch the interior pass protection in front of both of these quarterbacks. The Rams interior with a 37.8 pass pro grade. I know they got some injuries and young guys playing up front. And the Bears interior, I do get a little worried. We were already worried about it. And Nate Davis got benched for Matt Pryor, but then had to come back into this game because Tevin Jenkins is hurt now. And that's a guy who anytime you hear about an injury for him, you get worried about because Tevin Jenkins is really their best interior player. But he's always hurt. He missed, 40 or he's missed like such a significant chunk of games in his career. That's a spot where they were already struggling. And if they lose Jenkins for some amount of time, I get really worried about the Bears' offensive line because I could argue he's the best one.
David Lewis in the comments said, shockingly, the Eagles misused him last year. David, going through it right now. Going through it in the chat.
I just, honestly, I think you make a great
to
point, though. Swift has never been that workhorse guy.
Sure.
Like he's not going to be a guy that gets 30 or 35 touches. Like I think he is a guy who can be really good with 15 to 17 touches. He's never, even in Detroit, he was never a workhorse guy like that, even though he was drafted in the first round. He just shouldn't have been. I don't even think he was that at Georgia, honestly.
No, I think that was the big sort of detractor to him is he didn't have the volume that the other guys did. So he has been more, to me, a more efficient back than a big volume back, and I think maybe the Bears are recognizing that there.